What is up, y'all? It's your boy Scrappy. Sorry about the lack of videos. I've been enjoying some time off to myself after I finished my Bronze and Master series, but as this season comes to a close and a new one begins, it's time to start pumping out some more content. And if you're somebody that solo queues Apex, then this video was made especially for you. As many of you already know, I spent the last several months solo queuing from Bronze to Masters with every legend in Apex. It essentially makes me the solo queue master now. And now that I'm done with that, I have a lot of things that I need to help you guys with. This is the ultimate solo queue guide for Apex Legends, and these tips can be applied for any season. After watching this video and spending some time incorporating these concepts into your gameplay, your solo queue games will go much more smoothly. I've spent these last several months torturing myself to help you guys in the long run, and after going from Bronze and Master with every legend in the game, while solo queuing of course, here's what I learned. But first, a special shout out to Ambire for sponsoring this video. Ambire Wallet is an advanced smart wallet that utilizes account abstraction, acting as a gateway to Web3 applications and providing users with secure and effortless management of their digital assets. Specifically, it's an EVM wallet focusing on the broader Ethereum ecosystem, available on popular L1s like Ethereum, Phantom, and Avalanche, as well as L2s like Arbitrum, Polygon, and Optimism. It is available on the web at wallet.ambire.com, and it has mobile apps for Android and iOS. Also, be on the lookout for a browser extension that launches in just a few months in September. You can register right now and retrieve an account using an email and password only. Once you create an account, you can pay for network fees in ERC20 and stablecoins, and also you could prepay network fees. The best thing about it is that it has transaction simulation so that you know how a transaction will change your balances before you even sign it. With Ambire Wallet, you will have a granular experience both on your computer and on your phone. It's very convenient. It's perfect for all you crypto people that are looking for a safe way to invest. And shoot, even my dad uses it. So go check them out, sign up, and let me know. Now, back to the video. Here are the best tips that I could come up with, which will help you become a better player, a better solo queuer. You'll be smarter, faster, which will help improve the overall quality of your solo queue games. And just so you guys know, these tips are not in any particular order. They are all equally important, so make sure you watch the whole video. Tip number 1. Idleness will get you killed. Here's what I mean by that. In any given moment, you must always be doing one of two things when you're in a fight: healing or fighting. If you are weak, then you should heal as soon as possible. But if you're not weak, then you should be actively involved in fighting the enemy team, potentially giving chances for your teammates to heal up. It's kind of like yin and yang, and we'll dive deeper into those concepts through other tips later in this video. But what I want you to understand for right now is, when you're solo queuing and you're fighting a team and you are fully healthy, then you need to be fighting, doing things such as working on new angles, creating new lines of sights, flanking the enemy, physically shooting the enemy, things of that nature. And if you're not doing any of that, then I have to assume that you are weak in terms of your health, which prevents you from doing offensive related things. And so you must heal to restore that balance to put you guys back in the fight. But the longer you take and the more idle you become, the easier it is for the enemy team to wipe you out. And that's how a lot of fights are lost. So to all my solo queuers out there, please stop contributing nothing to a fight, because the only time that you're allowed to contribute nothing to a fight is when you're healing. And if you don't need to heal, then you need to be involved in that fight in some way. Failure to understand will result in many fights lost. Tip number 2. Alternating between angles. When engaged in a fight, you need to be sure to be attacking from different angles every time, and then rotating from angles that you've already established and angles that you have yet to establish, constantly attacking the enemy from a new angle. If everybody on your team is doing this, the team that you are fighting will fold every time, because covering that many angles is very difficult for a lot of these players to do, and it is very difficult to defend yourself against a team that is changing angles rapidly, especially if you don't have the correct legends equipped. During my solo to masters journey, I had to do all of this myself 99% of the time. Most of the time my teammates would follow me, or they would stay clumped together by themselves holding the same angle, and that's a big no-no. This is because the team that takes up the most space within a fight, or the team that opens up the most angles, is usually the team that wins that fight. That's how important space and taking up real estate is. So if 2 or 3 of you are holding the same angle, then you're essentially reducing your effectiveness and potential to win by 33% for every person on your team. So in my situation, where I usually have 2 teammates holding the same angle and I'm the only one doing anything, my 2 teammates that are holding each other's nutsacks, our overall team's effectiveness and potential to win by 66%. So make sure you're always moving in a fight, taking new angles, attacking from a different angle every time. And if all 3 of you guys are doing that on the team, then you should win a lot more of your solo queue fights. Tip number 3. capitalizing off your enemy's moments of weakness. If you or your teammates are doing major damage to a team, then you need to be sure to capitalize off of that. If I shoot a guy for 180, that person is now out of the fight. He can no longer hold angles, he can no longer actively fight against us, and instead he has to go and heal. Just like we talked about earlier, this reduces their team's overall effectiveness by 33% since that player is now removed from that fight. Now his two other teammates have to work double time just to ensure that he could properly heal up. We have now created a window of opportunity for ourselves to go and push that team with increased chances of winning. And yet for whatever reason during my solo queue journey, I'll create openings for my teammates like this constantly, and yet they rarely push, they rarely capitalize. And so a fight that could have been finished within the first 10 seconds now drags on into a fight that lasts about 30 seconds to over a minute, which increases the chances of us getting third-partied, which in turn now reduces our chances of winning that fight. And I'll probably make a video on this in the future, just like I will with healing tips, because I could talk about both of those topics for many minutes. But there needs to exist a balance of knowing when to be aggressive and knowing when to be passive. Both can and will be detrimental in excess, but if I had to choose one for you guys to practice with, it's gotta be knowing how and when to be aggressive. So make sure you capitalize off of the damage that you do, or the knocks that you get. However and whenever you create a moment of weakness for the enemy team, work on being more aggressive to prevent them from resetting, reviving, anything that's going to make that fight last longer than it should. And if you can get better with that, then you'll finish your fights more quickly, which lowers the chances of you getting third party, which will get you more kills, better loot, better placement, which will of course improve your skill set drastically. Tip number 4, being aware of your teammates' positioning and their health. Everything you need to know is on the screen in front of you. Your teammate's positioning is on the minimap, and your teammate's health is in the bottom left corner. This information is crucial when you're fighting, so let's focus on one at a time. Why is it important to know the position of your teammates? Because that will dictate how you decide to push a fight. If my teammate is anchoring a position and watching over me as I push, he'll only be able to effectively do that as long as I don't cut off his line of sight. So I pick a position to play within a fight where my teammate will always have an angle over me. And this is very important because that's how a lot of people play solo queue ranked. They're a bit too timid to take fights and be aggressive, so they sit back with their snipers or their long range weapon of choice and watch over their teammates. If this is how your teammates are going to play, then it would behoove you to make sure that you are not pushing an angle that your teammate cannot cover. In a perfect world, your teammates won't play like this, but in reality, this is how a lot of people play. So I'm trying to get you guys to understand the type of playstyle that will work the best for players like that to help you increase chances of winning games and winning fights. Because in the thousands of games that I've solo queued, all 24 legends from bronze and masters, 99% of the time my teammates played like that. Very rarely did my teammates know how to fight or be aggressive. And this is just one reason as to why it's important to know the position of your teammates at all times. And for similar reasons, it's always important to know the health of your teammates at all times. Recognizing which teammate of yours needs help by looking at their health will tell you what angles that you need to play so that you could look over and watch over them, how you need to rotate, again, so you could look over and watch over them. And those are just a couple reasons right there. So if you don't really know what to do when it comes to fighting, most of the time in general, you can let the position and the health of your teammates guide your decision making when it comes to taking that fight. And that's fighting in its most reduced form. I don't really know what to do in this fight, but my teammate's weak, so let me collapse back onto my teammate because naturally the enemy team is going to try to flush him out and hold an angle over him to support him. Now he's healthy, but in the process now my other team is unhealthy, so now I have to make my way over to him with my freshly healed teammate so that he doesn't die. I'm doing a lot of damage to this team, but I look on the map and realize my teammate is 30 meters behind me still. Maybe I shouldn't push just yet because my teammates are too far behind to completely support me. Now that my teammates are pushed up, instead of being aggressive, they're holding a position on high ground both watching over me. Well, if that's the case, then maybe I shouldn't push under this bridge, which is an area where my teammates will no longer have an angle over me. I know I sit here and try to break things down to its simplest form, and that's just so I can help you guys understand as much information as possible, but hopefully you guys get what I'm saying. There's a lot of information that you can get by looking at your minimap and looking at your teammates' health, which again can help guide you in your decision making when you're solo queuing Apex ranked. And lastly, tip number 5, play behind your teammates, never in front of them. Here's what I mean by that. You'll find out very quickly how difficult it is for your random teammates to keep up with you when you're solo queuing. And so a lot of the times, it's better to let your teammates push ahead of you so that you can help and support them instead of the other way around. We all think that our random teammates are horrible, right? And that we're always better than our random teammates that they give us, which is impossible for that to be true for everybody. But that's how we all think at the end of the day. So if that's the case, and you're better and smarter than every random teammate that you've ever gotten, Allow them to play ahead of you, trusting your skills and instincts to help support them better than they could ever support you, which will help you win more fights. Because the second the best player on your team goes down, the fight is usually over. No matter how much damage you do, and no matter how many times you knock them. Most of the time, as the best player on your team, as soon as you go down, the fight is over. And that happened to me countless times during my Bronze and Masters run. So instead of just full on aping everything, I would communicate to my teammates which fights that I'm pushing, do a lot of entry damage as I can, buying my teammates some time and angles to push forward, communicating to them who's weak, where they should go, and ultimately playing off of them. And this led to greater chances of success. This playstyle is very synergistic, which will help your solo queue games go a little bit easier. Now here are 3 things that you should avoid when you're taking fights as a solo queuer. These are things that I saw my teammates do way too often, which under no circumstances should ever happen. Number 1. Remember how I mentioned earlier that a lot of your random teammates are going to play passively? They'd much rather play a position of high ground and hold angles for you. Even though I taught you how to play with people like that, that sort of playstyle, if done too excessively, will get you and your teammates killed, and there's not much you could do about it. Across the thousands of solo queue games that I played, and the tens of thousands of different people that I've played with, one thing remains true over everything. Your teammates will refuse to push until you're dead. Then for whatever reason, the moment that you're dead, and the odds are now stacked against them, that's when they decide to push up. It's been difficult for me to rationalize why that happens so consistently. I think the only way that I can make sense of it is a state of panic. Your teammate knows that they're playing passively. They know that they're scared. They know that you may have died as a result of their inaction. So that triggers something in them to push right there in that moment, to either come revive you or to come grab your banner. But more often than not, it's too late. If they wanted to support you in that fight, then they should have done so when you were alive, not when it's a 2v3 situation. And so again, I encourage you guys to be a bit more aggressive and to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations as opposed to hyper passive gameplay. It never made sense to me as to why my teammates would finally push up to me as soon as I get knocked. If they just pushed up with me to begin with, then I wouldn't have gotten knocked and we could have won that fight. So please avoid doing this. If this happens to you, generally speaking, it's probably best just to run away and either craft banners or try to retrieve the banners later. It's good to take those 2v3s when you can, as they are very good practice. But if you're so far behind your teammate, which allows your teammate to get swung and then knocked and killed, running straight to the enemy team by yourself so that you can revive them or grab banners is gonna get you killed most of the time, no matter how good you are at 2v3ing. So make sure you guys avoid doing that. Number 2, stop running away from every fight. There will be moments where you need to run away, but it's not every time. And I can't tell you how many people I play with that ran away from every fight, and both good and bad players will recognize that apprehensiveness and will ape you until you die. But it doesn't mean that running away or retreating is bad. Like I mentioned, there's going to be times where you have to do that. But as you're doing that, make sure you're turning on the enemy to look for openings to create damage for them, which will slow them down a bit. If a team is chasing you hard, they're probably pushing you stupidly. And there will be many opportunities when they're chasing you for you to get some kills, which will help turn the tide of that fight and now put the offense on defense and vice versa. Most people that I played with or fought against, they just keep running and running and running, and it doesn't matter how far they run, they'll eventually die. So make sure you're only retreating when it's necessary, but also being sure to turn around and holding angles against the enemy to slow down their push and to even potentially kill them, which will give you better loot, better placement, more KP, so on and so forth. And the last thing that you should be sure to avoid when taking fights as a solo queuer, stop ratting. Whether it's just for this season, or if you did it in previous seasons, or if you do it in future seasons, stop ratting. If all you care about is getting a purple badge for the first time ever and a purple trail, and you don't care about the journey and how you improve, then you'll never get good at the game. And if you have that mindset when it comes to something as novel as gaming, I guarantee you have that same mindset when it comes to more important things in life, even outside of gaming. You should have been spending this season taking fights and improving in that regard, because this is the easiest season for fights that you'll ever see, and it could have been really good practice for you. But instead, you decided to rat every game, playing thousands and thousands of games this season with a KD less than a 0.5, with less than 100 average damage per game, and you found fulfillment in playing like that just so you can get these Masters badges and Pred badges for the first time? You're despicable. Not only that, but it also ruins the game for people that are genuinely trying to improve. So if you're solo queuing, then you definitely need to avoid playing like that. And if you want to play like that, go play Animal Crossing, which I'm sure is much more suitable for you. So we've already discussed the fighting aspect of solo queuing and things that you should be avoiding when you're fighting. Now let's talk about everything else. Here are some of the main things that I learned as a result of my solo queue Bronze and Master mission. Number 1, support class is by far the best class for solo queuing. And if you're not going to play support class, then you need to be playing a movement legend. This kind of summarizes my tier list video that I made a couple days ago. If you haven't watched that yet, then go ahead and check that out after this video. But pretty much if you look at my top 10, it's going to consist of a lot of movement players and a lot of support characters. At the end of the day, when you're solo queuing, you have to play your own life. Play with your teammates as you must, do things for them as you can. But no matter what you do, they will continue to throw. They will go down, they will die, they will contribute nothing to your fights, they will rat, they will run away. And if all of that is true, then playing a support class legend or a movement legend can help you escape crappy situations more effectively, which should help keep you alive longer so that you can get better placement and more average LP per game. And that's why I rated Loba the best solo queue legend, because she is the perfect mixture between a support legend and a movement legend. She has all the escape that Pathfinder has, but can also craft banners, pretty much giving you and your team multiple lives, multiple chances to gain more RP. And you could play any of the support legends and still get that same effect, but the other ones don't have movement. So you are kind of hindered a bit by that. But at the end of the day, as long as you're playing some mixture of a support legend or a movement legend, you should be fine, and you should have an easier time solo queuing. Another thing that I learned is, yes, it is true. Most of the time, your random teammates have no clue what they're doing, but typically all they need is a little bit of guidance. Sometimes you'll get those toxic teammates, and I'm not gonna lie, I've ran into a lot of them this season, but I've ran into thousands of more players that listen to my comm, that are willing to learn and play together as a team so that we can win the game together. All they needed is a little direction, and if you're watching my videos, then that responsibility falls in your hands, and that's why I try to teach and coach you guys all of these things, so that you can become a better educated player that understands the game at a deeper level, and so now you become the IGL of every team that you're on, helping your random teammates out as they need it, which of course will always make your solo queue life easier. And although with my solo queue journey there were many ups and downs, that's also the reason why I was able to go from Bronze and Master with 24 different legends in 4 months while I was in school, because I understand the game and can help guide players in the right direction as long as they're open to it. And I hope that by watching all of my videos, you guys can eventually become that type of player, teaching your randoms what to do and how to be better so that they can learn more information and pass it on to their randoms or their friends, and together as a community we'll all grow and solo queuing won't nearly be as difficult. That's my mission with all of this. The third thing that I learned from my Bronze and Master journey is your random teammates lack confidence, and that lack of confidence is the biggest killer. There have been many players that I've been paired up with that had a really good shot but played like a bot in every other aspect of the game simply because they lack the confidence to do better. A lot of players are too worried about being the person that makes a mistake. Nobody wants to be the first guy down. By that same token, nobody wants to be the one to call the shots that eventually leads you to death. So that makes these players scared to IGL or take that leadership role. And there's no tip that I can give you that will automatically make you more confident, but confidence is bred through repetition and practice. The more reps and practice that you get, the better that you'll be, and as soon as you recognize that improvement, that's where confidence is established. And so all it really comes down to is your study habits. How much are you studying? How well are you studying? How good are you at incorporating those studies into your gameplay? And the minute that you do all of those things successfully is exactly the moment where you'll start improving and growing your confidence step by step along the way. You cannot be afraid of failure. Failure is an inhibitor, and it will always hold you back from things in life. You should never shy away from failure or challenge. Instead, you should embrace it. And if you do fail, learn from it and use it as a tool. Become better. And you can apply that mindset to all facets of life. I'm not just a gamer coach, I'm a life coach, baby. Build that confidence and watch how your game will grow. Another thing that I learned, kind of contrary to what I was just talking about, a lot of the people that you solo queue with are ridden with excuses, and they love to project blame onto everybody else except themselves. So when that happens, know that it comes from a place of insecurity and jealousy, and don't let it affect you. Don't let it ruin your game. And I'm calling those types of players out because I know there will be plenty of people that watch my video that act like that. They can never do anything wrong. They are always better than their teammates, and their teammates are always bad. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, that cannot be true for every single person that plays this game. At some point you have to start to look within. At some point you need to start recognizing your shortcoming, the things that you struggle with. That's the first step to improvement, and we see a lot of people that solo queue this game that never get to that point. They'll just blame and blame and blame and blame, and they will never get better that way. If this is you, please do better with recognizing your flaws and actualizing areas that you can improve on. Once you do that, then you can start your process of growth and your journey of improvement, which will make you better, it will make the people around you better, and if we all do it enough, then at least on average, everyone's games will go better. Do you see how your individual choices have an impact on the community around you, whether you think it does or not? It does. And so I hope by giving you guys access to information such as this, everybody that watches this video will learn something and therefore get better, and it should have a ripple effect in the community, hopefully. And lastly, the final thing that I learned from my solo to masters with every legend journey, the most successful teams, whether it be pre-made 3-stack or 3 solo queuers randomly playing with each other, the most successful teams are going to have a strong leader. And so by studying this video and previous videos that I've made and future videos that I'll be making should ideally help you become a stronger, more informed leader for your team so that you have a positive additive effect on every team that you queue up with. The reason why I was able to solo queue bronze and masters with every legend so quickly is because I took that initiative to be the leader on every team that I played on, because I have studied countless of hours trying to perfect my craft with this game. And sometimes the games didn't go well at all, but a majority of the time, because of my actions as a leader on every team that I'm on, my solo queue games were a lot easier than most people's games would have. So I stress the importance of a strong leader on every team, and it's probably not going to be your random teammates. So if you're watching my videos, then it better be you. Solo queuing is scary, it can be difficult, but by studying these tips and the things that I've gone over in this video, hopefully it makes it a little less scary for you. And hopefully it improves the overall quality of every solo queue game that you play from here on out. This video was the second reason as to why I started my Bronze and Masters Challenge in the first place, so that I could hopefully improve the quality of everybody's games when it comes to solo queuing. I've now completed that. Be on the lookout for new creative content all next season, starting off with a Bronze and Master with Revenant Reborn, so that I can give you guys my thoughts on him. And thank you guys for all the support. I genuinely believe that we can hit 100,000 by the end of the year, so don't let me down. Appreciate y'all, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.